I go, put a sweater on. You're going to be cold. I'm not going to be cold. Oh, because you're 5 and you understand meteorology and weather and where we live. You've been on Earth and barely out of the house in these few years. But you know what? I'm going to defer to you. And then, of course, she's freezing. And then I'm at the park going, I told you, lesson learned. But then the other parents are like, well, that's child abuse. And they're going to call social services because I want to tell the other parents, hey, I told her to bring a sweater. That's on her. At some point, she has to accept responsibility. I know she just turned 6, but you know what? You got to learn it sometime.
Now, my ex-wife, that's all we did. So it was a complete...
Oh, I didn't know. We didn't hear about this story yet.
Yeah, so I was filming the Extreme Paranormal show, and I came home 3 days early because we finished early. And she said she was at her grandmother's. And so I swung by the grandmother's, but there was nobody there. And I was like, hey, what are you up to? And I called her. And she's like, oh, hey, I'm at my grandmother's. And I was like, with the lights off and no car in the driveway. And so I happened to turn around because I heard a car and I saw her car turn down the street. And I saw that there was somebody else in the car in a baseball hat. And so I drove after them. And the worst part was I was also, for some reason, carrying a ventriloquist dummy. So, like, I'm chasing her with a it's a long story.
It feels like everything's a long story. Hey, everybody. I'm Jamie Kaler. That's my co-host and partner in crime. And the keeper of the Oasis, Mr. Jason Gowan. How are you, brother?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. So we... every week we get dinged on Facebook or YouTube or something for some copyright infringement that we don't know what's happening. And we have heard, tell people what you finally found out in a group chat.
So what we're finding out is that there is apparently a rival parenting podcast or parenting hub that has taken issue with the rising momentum of Kaler and Gowan. So apparently it's common practice when this happens that they will start spamming your stuff and actually try to cut you out, and they can report you for copyright infringement when there's nothing. And like literally last week, there was nothing at all that could have been construed as. So we pulled our opening intro, we pulled all our music, we're using clips of just our faces. So if there's copyright infringement on this face or his face,
right,
I don't know what we're gonna do.
That's it, man. And like life's not hard enough. Like we're not like making $1 jillion. And so somebody's lighting us up for no reason. So if you're watching, you know what? I wrote, I didn't. I didn't. We're going to improvise an opening song for tonight because we don't, this way, no one can bust us for copyright infringement. So Jason, what will the song be about tonight?
Talk about the Parents Lounge and also that we've been canceled.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That'll be easy. That one actually might've been scripted. Not sure. Welcome to the Parents Lounge. We've been canceled by some guy named Vishnu who reported us for copyright infringement and hate speech. I think he claimed I said.
He claimed you were hate speech.
I was something about hate speech, so I'm not sure what I said, but it must have been awful. So welcome to the Parents Lounge tonight. We have a fantastic show with a fantastic guest.
Jamie, somebody is actually spamming us in the chat as we're speaking.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I gotta go to the things too. Comments are already lit up. People. Oh,
yeah, it's happening right now. Like
who's doing that?
I don't know.
Seifudan. Oh my gosh. Seifudan. All right, whatever. I'm just done with all that crap. So I honestly, there might be some hate speech before this show's over. I'm hating a lot of things. We keep getting lit up for garbage. It's crazy, and I don't know what's happening. But
that was a straight up attack while we were live.
It's the Parents Lounge, and you know what? Like life's not hard enough raising our kids. Like this is our 1 hour where this is supposed to be fun, where we get to pour a drink on a Tuesday night. We have a bunch of friends and fans who come in to watch the show, and then we chit-chat about life. So how was your week, Jason?
I was on vacation with my children.
Oh, I know you were.
It was both magical and rewarding, and also like going to the wake of a vacation. So you would get to see families that were actually having fun and not with screaming 2-year-old toddlers.
Well, let me ask you, was it like an Irish wake? And have you been to an Irish wake? Because
I've never been to an Irish wake.
Oh, It's honestly the best party you can ever go to. Like when I die, I mean, hopefully it's long before you'll be able to go to my wake, and it will be the greatest party of your life. Like an Irish wake, like people are like sad and I love you, man, and stuff. But then it's people start dancing and just kicking it back. So it's a wake's a great party in the Irish community.
Can I sing at your wake?
Everybody has to sing.
Oh, perfect.
It's in my will. Yeah. And then I want a Viking funeral. I want to be in a boat with a bunch of kindling. I want somebody to shoot an arrow, push it offshore, and then fire it up. And that's how I want to go down to the Pacific Ocean, and then just have a giant surf circle and party it up.
My wife just recently asked me like what I would want if I had a funeral, which is a little suspicious to me. But I also told her I'd like to be buried in the Iron Man suit.
Oh, dude, you're totally buried in the Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before because Costco sells coffins, and I'm thinking about like just rigging one with a television by my feet and then a little slide refrigerator on the side. And then I might just throw it in the garage. And then if I go in my sleep, they can it'll be easy disposal of the kids.
Why are you not taking that to Shark Tank?
Right?
Yeah. You
know what? Whoever's blowing up our comments is probably stealing that right now. It's so weird. Oh, they're posting YouTube videos.
Yeah, it might be the rival gang. It might be the rival show.
Be Syphedon. So I don't know. Hey, let's get to our guest because we normally chat a lot more, but we have a great guest tonight. And I can tell you, we've talked about this earlier that like we did the Council of Dads recently, which was super fun. But I think our best shows are when there's moms.
I agree.
Like it's almost like we need a voice of reason.
You and I should not be left to our own devices. No.
Without a mom to kind of watch what we're doing, it's like Vegas. Like I'm not great in Vegas because I need the state at some point to come in and go, dude, 2 a.m. It's over. You need to go home. Like I need that. I'm not great when they go, oh, you can drink and do whatever you want. Then it falls apart quick.
And here's the weird thing is our guest tonight, inadvertently from the show she was on, kind of responsible for this show having been created.
That's true. We're going to get to that story. All right, let's bring her in. She is a mom. She's fantastic. Oh, you brought her in before I even introed her. You don't know about intros, Jason. Put her back out. Get her out.
Okay. I'll get her out. My bad.
You keep doing that every week.
I clicked it on accident. That was my bad.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I didn't mean to do that.
And what I do is I read a little bio. I went down the wormhole.
I'm sorry, Claire. I messed up.
You can't say their name either.
Oops.
You're blowing every rule of introductions. Oh my gosh, dude.
Saifudan threw me through. He's got me choking, man.
The hate speech is coming out. All right, here we go. This young lady is a fantastic actress. She is a graduate of NYU Tisch. She graduated in 3 years. We'll talk about that at some point. You might know her from the fantastic movie Bring It On. You might know her from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You might know her from the Star Trek universe, or you might know her from her new podcast, Fan Addicts. She's known for playing the perfect bitch, but people know her for being the perfect sweetheart. Please welcome Miss Clare Kramer. Now you bring her in. Yes.
Now I'm here, guys, for real. I've landed.
I know.
Sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry.
Let me start by saying I'm not sure this is a parenting podcast. It may be a death and dying podcast. I'm definitely going to be singing at your wake, Jamie. But just to put it on the record, since we're all just being totally transparent here with our wishes, do not bury me. Do not cremate me. Donate whatever parts are available to science, and then do something like the Egyptians used to do. Put me in a sarcophagus, bring in my pets, my friends, my servants, some wine and cheese. Like if there is an afterlife, I want to, be able to enjoy myself down there. I don't want to be 6 feet under, and I don't want to be burned. So there it is. It's on the record now.
That's it. This is a legal will. A lot of people don't know that, but if you click on Zoom, what is it? Zoom? What's the will thing? Zoom
will. I don't know.
What's the one where you can just do
We the People? WeThePeople.com, I'm sure, would authorize this as a legal and standing will.
By the way, let's just not glaze over the fact that you just said, bring my servants with me. You got a lot of servants there. And by the way, you want them to die with you because that's what happened.
Right. They're also known as my children. No, I'm kidding. But you know, I do. I want comfort in the afterlife. I don't want to be cremated. I don't want that happening to my body, and I don't want to be put down in, you know,
what
ground.
about a mushroom suit?
I'm open to that. I'm not sure what that would look like, but you know, draw me up a proposal. Do a SWAT on that, and we'll see. Yeah,
we'll pitch it. They also can put you in the roots of a tree and grow you as a tree.
That's what my mom wants. She wants to be like the pod person. It's like literally like your body, and there's a pod, and then there's a tree. And my mom's like, that's what I would like. And I'm like, well, it's not your fucking decision if you're dead, is it?
Well, I feel like it's supposed to be. I feel like it's. I love when people like go, my mom wanted this, but you know what? No, we're gonna do what I want with her.
Well, I mean, I've blatantly made my wishes clear, so I guess I do need to respect my mother's as well.
I mean, I doubt that the woman from the original Ed Gein story of Psycho said, you know what, I'd love to just be kept in my bedroom, and then you talk to me like I'm still alive for the next 15
Or Bernie
years.
At Weekend with Bernie's. I mean, did he envision that? That's crazy. That's an 80s
honestly,
movie.
That's how I want to go now. That's my new one. I want round glasses, and I want to just go to
a Hawaiian shirt and just like party. Just keep partying, man. I mean,
yes,
that's what the Irish are all about, right?
Super cool. I'm sorry. Well, listen, we got all the death stuff out of the way at the top of the show. Now we can talk about life, and I think that's typically how you should. Yeah, as soon as you understand you're going to end someday, then you really live your life. Is what I've always believed.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fact that Jason has told me that this show happened because of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It did. Okay, so I was a huge Buffy fan, and a friend of mine, he wanted to play a prank on the kids because I came from the paranormal investigation world.
Yes.
So he had me do a Blair Witch style prank in the thing, and so in a cemetery at night. So I went in early, and the guys all came in, and they all had like Buffy the Vampire Slayer weapons, and because of that, we did some YouTube videos, which led to me being discovered for the A&E show, and that's how I met Dave Schrader, who introduced Jamie and I, who now do this show together.
So it was all about the steak.
Yep.
Right. I love that. That's a great story. That's a good origin story.
Well, it's always, I think if you go back far enough, you can, it's like that 6 degrees thing where you just all of a sudden end up and go, here we are.
Like Jamie, when you and I saw each other at Disney, and I'm like, I know you. And you're like, I know you. And then we're like, how do we know each other? And then we're like, laughing. Oh yeah, our kids go to school together every day.
So we were testing to be the parents in a Disney show. And then the pandemic hit, and that show
on March 13th.
Yeah,
I believe. So of 2020. 2020.
2020. That's right. 2020.
Yeah. And it was literally like the next day was shutdown day. And then
honestly, the show would have come back, but I believe probably the kid aged out. The kid's too old now for the part, and so they just scrapped the show.
I just remember that monologue that my character had was about breastfeeding, and I was like, oh my God, I can totally, and everybody I did the monologue in front of, because I kind of, when you're testing, you know, you want to like make sure you're good, you know, so you want a little feedback. And everyone I did it in front of was like, oh, that's so real. I'm like, dude, it's for kids real. It is real.
Well, I mean, we should, because as an actress, that's a rarity. You know, a lot of actresses will go, oh, I'll have one and then jump back in. You had a child every 2 years for 8 years.
Okay, so it's even closer than that, actually, because the boys, everybody's like a little bit closer. So when the picture you guys used in the promo, where it's the Us magazine published that I put on my Instagram, when Gavin was 5 is when Sky was born, and he's the youngest and Gavin's the oldest. So she was 5 and Sky was born.
What are the grades? What are the grades again?
The grades right now are, okay, so the grades they just finished are 6th, 5th, 3rd, and 1st. So I now, thankfully, our school is K through 8. Otherwise, you know, which was a strategic decision on my part, because clearly we didn't want to have to move to a middle school and then move to a high school, just one jump before you go to college. But thankfully they have 2 more years together at school and then before they branch off to high school. And I've basically told them they have no choice. They're all going to the same high school. I don't care what really, I mean, I'm sure I'll change my mind on that because it sounds really,
I didn't know that was even a thing until I talked to some dad. Who was I? I can't remember who I was talking to. He was like, I go, oh, your kids are in high school. He's like, yeah, I got like 3 kids in high school. And I was like, oh, at least, at least it's one trip in the morning or something. And he was like, no, 3 different high schools. And I was like, he said he was really specific about this high school was perfect for this kid and this one. I don't know about you. I'm from Manchester, New Hampshire. My father was like, that's the end of the street. A bus is going to pick you up in the morning. It's going to drive you into Manchester and you go to Manchester Central. And that's how life is. Like, there was no, like, I feel like I'm more theatrical than that. Wasn't that way.
No, I grew up with, I'm sorry, Jason,
no problem.
Real quick though, piggybacking on what you said, Jamie, I grew up in a very small town in Ohio called Delaware, Ohio, because everything in Ohio is named after something else. So you can't just have like a town name. It has to be named after something. Ours was named after the state, Delaware, Ohio, and one junior high and 1 high school. Now, nowadays, I think they've expanded. There's a couple high schools within the county, but there was literally, I graduated with 107 people, and I believe 7 of us left the state for college. So it was so small, and I walked to elementary school by myself. I mean,
I did too.
Yeah, just totally different than it is nowadays.
I drive my kids to school every day, and in the back of my head, I'm like, why is this happening? This is crazy.
Like get on your bike and make it happen. Yeah. What were you going to say, Jason?
I was going to say I'm not going to have to worry about making a choice because the state will have come in by that point and put them in some sort of correctional facility.
Juvie.
Well, a couple more stories like you talking about, puppeteering and stuff. And social service is going to take those kids away from you, I would imagine.
That was before kids.
I know.
BC. That's what I like to say, BC, before children.
For a second, I thought you were spelling kids wrong. I was like, BC.
You're like, no, that's not. No, it's an acronym. Okay. And I'm applying it to children.
4 kids. Talk about the fact, too, because we were talking about homeschooling. His are too young. His aren't in school yet. So he's really the baby in this group. Mine were kindergarten and second. I can't even imagine homeschooling 4 kids. I wouldn't have survived.
Well, I'm here by the will of God.
How much alcohol did you go through?
A lot. I'm not going to lie. There were days where, I mean, honestly, it is a joking thing, but it's also not a joking thing because it was so, especially that March 16th date where it was my son's actually 8th birthday where everything shut down. That was a Monday. And they were like, that's it. St. Francis was open. I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to say the name of the school. The school was open Thursday and Friday. And I kept my kids out those 2 days because their father was like, hey, listen, let's not send them. We don't know what this thing is, this virus, let's keep them home. And I'm like, that's a good idea. So we kept them home. And then by Monday, everything was shut down. And then Wednesday, it was Zoom school and there was zero preparation, and anyone who has a job, it was literally so difficult. The schools, I think, they pivoted the best they could. Yeah. The parents, I don't think, had a choice. There was no oh, this is our job. And now it's like, okay, now we have 8 jobs. We're the housekeeper, we're the chef, we're the teachers, we're still the people who make the money for the household. We're also the parents. We're also supposed to be your friends, and now we have to do all the sports and every extracurricular, everything. And now we're all going to live in this house for 15 months with no one else, You
have to come see my whole new album. That literally, you just described my entire new hour of material. Yeah. Yeah, it was. People go, you wrote a new hour, and I go, yeah, it's tragedy plus time. You should have seen the year we just had. And I had half the year because I only had 2 kids. Well, and I was out of work, and I was we're doing the same thing, and I was like watching kids 14 hours a day.
It was really, I'll be really, candid, and I know this is kind of like a funny show, but, the March through June period of 2020 was absolutely horrible. It was me having to make the parental decision of being on a Zoom, because all of a sudden every conference call and every email chain turned into a Zoom. this program no one had ever used before, and everybody wanted to Zoom and see your face, right? So I have a Zoom. We're not allowed to have help. I've got 4 kids here. And everything was like, I felt horrible as a parent because I was like pushing them away, like, get out of the Zoom, I have to do my work, and, I have to do this and that. And it was really traumatic, I think, for everyone involved. So when I had to reassess and it became clear that come August, we were still going to be homeschooling, that was not changing, I formed with 4 other families a pod in our house. I cleaned out the back room of the house and made it a schoolroom. It has a separate entrance, so people would come down the driveway. We hired this wonderful, like, we call her like facilitator, because we still did the school curriculum. And we set up desks and had a full-on pod school at our house for the entire school year. And the teacher came from 7:45 to 3, and the kids did their thing. And that was the only way I survived.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got kind of a little break if they were there and during the day, or were you just like there white knuckling the whole time?
Well, I mean, of course I went to my office when I was able to. There was a time where the office was also shut down. But we kind of had a situation where we could sort of, once we sort of like decided, okay, if we wear masks and we stay in our office with our doors shut, then we're okay and everybody's going to be fine. But it was still difficult because my older kids, the 6th and the 5th grader particularly, they didn't want to be in the pod room because they felt like, there were 5 1st graders, a 3rd grader, 2 5th graders, and a 6th grader. And they felt like, it's all young kids and they're just doing young things. And, they wanted to be in their own rooms, which did not really, it never really eased up. If I was home, there was an issue most of the time. Now, it definitely was better than being home alone, 1,000%. But there was still that desire. No.
There's no way you could do it.
From March to June.
With 2. I could barely do it with 2.
No, from March to June, I knew I was losing my mind. And so I had to do something different. And that was kind of the situation, the choice we came up with.
I had friends who did pods and they invited me to go in, and it was crazy. There's a lot of kids who made a lot of money because they, like, to add 1 kid, they were like, well, it's another, I forget what it was, like, $400 a week. And I was like, well, she's already teaching 3 kids. So you're telling me this kid, I did the math, the kid was making like $2,000 a day to tutor people. And I was like, there wasn't like, it's for 5 kids. They were like, if you add 1 more kid, full fare. Because they knew they could gouge parents, because parents were like literally ready to fake their death and move to Bali. And they're like, I don't care, take whatever. And the one who my friend was having, the kid tutoring was making I was like, I'll tutor them. I'll do it. I'm out of work. $2,000 a day. I mean,
sweet. Well, we hired our gal, and she's wonderful, off of care.com. And she actually had just graduated from college and was moving from New York. So we had a really good situation where we had a contract, a mutually agreed upon contract. And, everybody entered into it at the same time. So it wasn't quite as bad price-wise as some of those scenarios out there. But I totally know what you mean. People got desperate. People got really desperate.
I went to the school and I took 2 desks from the school with the chairs, and I set them up on opposite sides of the house. And then each morning I would print out their schedule, and it was still utter mayhem. And I tried to do it because I was out of work. I mean, I didn't work for a year basically until January, and acting started picking up. But before that, I was totally out of work. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to pay somebody. I'll just do this. I have a college degree. And then I was like, my wife, she would be working. She never lost her job. She was working Zoom the whole time. So she was up in her office in her closet, and then she would go down. She has a closet that you're going to see one day that you're going to go, oh, nice. I don't have, I want like a phone booth. She has a closet office.
It's like a TARDIS.
Office. And she would come down after being up there all day long, and she goes, hey, we doing dinner together? And I'm like, no, we're not doing dinner. I'm going to go eat quietly in a different room because otherwise I'm not going to make it.
Possibly the bathroom where I can lock it. The only room in the house you can lock.
Oh, but it was every time I went to the bathroom, I would just sit there like with my guitar or something. And they would the kids would knock on the door and be like, can Daddy just have a minute? Can Daddy just have a minute? Yeah. So it was, I can't even imagine 4 kids. What was it like when you first, because obviously you're kind of a busy, crazy working actress, and all of a sudden you start just pumping them out?
Okay, let's see. There's
I mean,
so
you
many.
must have really wanted kids. You must have
know,
been like,
I did. I really did. And I didn't want to be, everybody has their own path. You know what I mean? I just wanted to make sure for me that I was what in LA would be considered a young parent. Anywhere else in the world would be considered totally normal. You know what I mean? Had my first baby at 32. But LA, that's like, oh, you're like, wait, what are you doing? Your career is going to die, you know? But the funny thing is, I worked through all the pregnancies, and with Gavin, I did a film, who's my oldest. She's the 13-and-a-half-year-old. With Gavin, I did a film 6 to 8 weeks. I'd have to look up exactly after she was born, where I was in underwear and a bra. So like basically right after I had her, I was like, okay, I'm going to be on the Atkins grapefruit and shake chicken diet for
you see Giselle Bundchen comes out. She goes, I had a baby 4 hours ago. And look at me. And you're like,
yeah. And like you see these Victoria's Secret models. And I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. But it was not easy. And by the 4th, I was like, I don't feel like doing that anymore. So I'm not looking for parts where I have to get in a bikini.
I didn't even carry the baby, and I still gained the 15 pounds.
I'm still gaining.
Yeah, he's still gaining weight. So I want to go back. Let's go back in time. So you did NYU, you little Tish. It kind of is a bragging thing that you graduated in 3 years.
It just at the time, I don't know why I was anxious to graduate, because now I'm like, what was I thinking? Like life is so good in college, like stay there. I should have taken extra years, but it just was, I don't know, my personality, I guess, where I just wanted to like get out and start living life. Funny story. I remember all through college, I went to NYU, and there, when you're in the theater program, you study at conservatories, 3 days a week, and 2 days a week, you take your academics actually on campus. So I was studying at Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, which is on University and like 19th. And there was this bar next door called 119 that was literally next to Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. And so like, the thing with Strasberg is your acting classes are 4 hours long, and there's a half-hour break. So it's really like a 4.5-hour class, like 2 hours of sense memory, take a break, come back, do your scene work if you're working that day, or other people do their scene work. And then of course, throughout the day you have your singing and your dance and your Tai Chi, which was very important there. Anyway, point is, I spent a lot of time at the bar next door, 119, learned to play pool there, learned to play darts there, and graduated college, and subsequently went back on my 21st birthday, which was about a year after I had graduated college, and was like, I'm 21. And they were like, what? We've been serving you since you were like 16. And I'm like, that's right.
That's the beauty of New York.
That's the beauty of NYU. There's no campus. There's no college campus. It's just all, you're in Greenwich Village. That's your campus. So we grew up in the bars around there, as opposed to like sororities and fraternities. Mine's
really similar. I went to Boston University.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the Back Bay, and it was the same. There was no people really didn't join a lot of fraternities. You didn't need to. The city was playground and stuff, and I love that. And then my wife and I met right near NYU, so that's kind of our second home.
Whereabouts?
She was in the East Village at 1st and 11th.
I lived on 10th and A for a long time.
Mud Coffee, she lived right by.
I know that place well, and Life
Super
Cafe.
Great. We miss that area so much. I love New York so much.
It's changed a lot, but it's still great. Whenever I have, a chance to go back, it's wonderful. I haven't been back in a while.
It was so crowded you couldn't walk down the street. It's just wall to wall people. It's getting a little rough, but you're also a triathlete, which obviously having 4 kids, yeah.
4 kids, yeah. That's your Olympic gold medal right there.
Feels like your training really paid off.
I go in and out of training and working out. I definitely went through a period where I was enjoying that. Now I'm really into yoga, but I actually haven't practiced in almost a year because of the pandemic. I just am not. Unfortunately, with 4 kids and homeschooling, I couldn't fit it in. So I know it's so weird, right? So
insane.
actually my goal is this next week to get back into the practice. But yes, triathlons are really fun. And I found them, again, it like is totally something that my personality is attracted to. It's like, try something really difficult, succeed, and then move on. You know what I mean?
I totally understand that. Yes. I was just talking to my daughter about that the other day, about the fact that I'm always impressed by someone who can stay the course and reaches a certain level of success and then just continues on that path and pounds it and pounds it. I always look at them and go, like to Zuckerberg, like, dude, you won. The game's over. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know why you're still involved in any of this.
Right. Like, he just posted a video. I'm kind of like obsessed with him in a way, because I some of these people like Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and even Mark Cuban, people get angry at them. They're like, they have so much power. They're so controlling. But I'm like, I can appreciate, for example, when like Elon Musk is like, hey, listen, we're going to send the first, group of people to Mars. If you die, you die. At least you died going to Mars. There's something about that radical thinking that I'm attracted to. Not that I want to implement it in my life, but I think we need those free thinkers in society. And Zuckerberg, back to him, just posted this video the other day of him like throwing this crazy like harpoon at haystack, and it like went right in the bullseye. And I'm like, gosh darn it, is there anything you can't do?
I get it. Jason, what do you think? I'm conflicted on them. I don't know. I feel like it's, we don't need, I don't know. Jason, you want to take,
I'm kind of in the same boat.
Most of them all, but I understand that it's about money. And at some point there's a finite amount of it. And it feels like, we've turned into a plutocracy in a way.
Oh, absolutely. It is a plutocracy. Absolutely. And I know that none of the money is currently in this home.
It's just not my mentality. Like you were talking about the fact that once you accomplish something, Claire, that you move on. I feel like the same way. Like I was on a show for a few years and it was great. I was a series regular. And then after I would get called to do a guest star and I'd kind of be like, I kind of did. I'm already there. I didn't feel it. I just didn't care. I'm golfing today. I don't really want to go do that. And then unfortunately, you know what changed that? 2 little gingers in the other room. And then I go, oh, maybe I should go try to earn money. But before that, I was a single guy and I had a bank full of money and I just didn't care. I didn't care at all. And so when I see somebody who's like hundreds of billions of dollars still like working 22 hours a day, I'm like, dude, you won. It's Monopoly's over. The other dude flipped the board over. I don't know why you're still, but that's the reason they got to that. That's the reason Gates got there in the first place. And they crushed a ton of people to get to that point. And that's just who they are. I'm not that guy.
Meanwhile, I'm skating by. I'm just Mediterranean.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a different mindset. I've always been like,
it is a different mindset. It totally is. And I agree with you. And I think I want to delineate, just to be clear with what I was saying. Like, I'm not speaking to the financials of the people that I mentioned, especially like Elon Musk. I'm speaking more of like, okay, who are some radical thinkers, and like how you have to be that radical or that egotistical, if you want to say in that way, to believe that you can, send someone to Mars or create the #1 social media platform in the entire world or blah, blah, blah. And so that is the part that I do find intriguing about these men. And it is primarily men. I mean, Oprah's an example, but she's a completely different model,
Jamie and I are going to be that with the parenting world. We've already got attacks happening.
I mean, you already got people like, tagging you for
right? As soon as I make enough money to afford my country club membership, you won't see me again. I just play golf, play some gin, have a couple drinks, watch some TV, and I want to do it the next day.
Your kids are adorable, Jamie, though. Your girls are so cute.
Should we talk about talent shows, Claire?
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely.
So, actually, I'd love to hear it from an outside point of view, because honestly, it was a very traumatic day. And I told the story before it happened. And what happened was kind of what I saw coming. Like I saw the whole thing break down in my head, and it kind of happened exactly like I thought.
Well, what was your conversation with her before the show? Let's set the stage.
Which one? Many conversations.
Okay, go any.
So I'll back up the whole story. So out of nowhere, she comes home,
and she's 6, right?
She is 7 now.
7.
She's
okay.
7 years old. She's in first grade. Second.
Now second was
second.
first.
She's in second. She's in second grade. No, she's finishing second. Claire's finishing.
Going into third.
The whole last year is a blank for me. So she kept coming home from school, going, "Hey, I want to do the talent show," and I was like, "Okay, yeah," and I just kept blowing it off every day. She'd go, "I want to do the talent show," and I go, "What are you going to do?" And she goes, "I'm going to sing," and I go, "Since when? Like, where is this coming from? Out of nowhere?" And every day I go, yeah, we'll fill it out tomorrow. Every day she kept coming back. And she came back the last Friday and she goes, "Today's the deadline. You have to submit it today." And I'm like, "Really? Are you sure you want to do this? You sure?" Begged me. And I still kind of blew it off. And then she was crying. And I finally said, "Okay, yeah, we'll do this. Absolutely." But she has always been super shy. She won't perform in front of the family. She won't perform in front of she won't perform like on cue ever. Meltdown. Always unbelievably shy, like I was as a kid. And I know the feeling. It's an overwhelming adrenaline that you can't control, and your ears start buzzing, and you just have that like tunnel vision where you feel like you're going to black out. I remember it so vividly. And she and I are really similar. And so finally I go, "Okay, all right, we'll do it." And so I submit the whole thing. I have to she's going to sing Katy Perry's Firework. I have to cut the song down and submit it, and we do. And she goes to the first rehearsal, and at the first rehearsal, I try to downplay it and go, "Yeah, just have fun, do what you do." She can't do it at the rehearsal. And the teacher told me, she goes, she couldn't do it. And actually, what's funny is she got in the car that day, and I said, "Hey, how'd rehearsals go?" And she goes, it was okay." And then the teacher came to me after, and she goes, she couldn't do it. And I go, "Okay." And so I'm starting to melt. And so she goes to the next rehearsal 2 days later, and she goes, "I can't be there." She won't let me be there. And I'm outside. I'm having a panic attack of like,
right. Of course. I don't deal with this. Of course.
Wait, she banned you from the performance?
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to watch. I would make her nervous. And so I said, "Yeah, I don't want to make you nervous." And so I was outside. She couldn't do it again. And so they had other kids. They have to have other kids. And so they tried it a few times, and she's like this, just frozen. And so I take her all the way home. We get all the way home. I go, "I think we should go back. And you should take a crack at it." And she goes, "Yeah, let's do that." And so we go back, and she does it.
I love that.
I'm so proud of her from the whole thing.
I'm so proud of her too.
So proud of her. And it blew my mind how strong she is, super strong. I wouldn't have done it. And I kept saying, we can pull out. You don't have to do this. Nobody's saying you have to do this show. This is insane. You can pull out anytime you want. And she's like, "No, I'm not pulling out. I'm going to do this show." And I go, "Okay." And then she goes to do the show, and then Claire sees the show.
Okay, so she's first up, which also like if you have a child that's having problems performing, maybe don't put him first as
the teacher had her go first, and she goes, "Trust me, it's the best." And I've only been acting for 25 years, and I was like, "I don't agree."
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I think it's a train wreck waiting to happen.
Right. I don't understand that.
Let some other kids go and eat it. And then
get the AC/DC guys up there drumming away. And then
I'm having a panic attack just thinking about it.
Oh my God. So this little angel of a child comes up, and the song starts, and she's got the mic. And first of all, I do have to say that the sound system probably was really hard to hear from the vantage point of the stage. So I'm sure that was an issue. The music, and she's not singing, and they're like, "Okay, let's start again. Let's do it again. Let's start again." So they start again, and she's not singing. And I'm looking at her, and she's literally like,
oh no.
Like she's filming a scene in a horror movie, and she's fast breathing because someone's chasing her. And and they're like, "Okay, let's start again." And the music starts again and again. And Jamie gets up, and he's singing and the whole audience is like clapping and ready to roll and helping and doing everything they can. And nothing is working. And literally she's on a corded mic. It's not a wireless. And she starts backing up into the curtain like that.
Like the Homer Simpson into the bushes.
Yes, exactly.
She totally Homer Simpsoned into the bushes.
In the stage,
and
like
then
behind me, I'm singing firework as loud as I can.
Right.
Firework.
And I am too, and everyone is. And then something magical happened. They said, let's start one more time. And somehow Jamie extracted her out of the green velvet curtain. I'm not sure how. And this beautiful little voice started singing. And I mean, I'm a softie anyway, but like tears down my face, had to go in the library. I'm like, Miss Swafford, I need a tissue. There's a little girl who conquered her fears, and just totally crying. And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And I have so much respect for her.
Because honestly, had it been me, I might have walked right off stage and been like, I don't need this. I don't need this.
Kudos to you.
And she stayed up by herself and sang the whole song by herself. And I was so.
And she sounded great.
The problem is she can sing. Like we'd have it on karaoke and she was sing. She practiced it for days and crushed it. And I was like, oh, I guess you can.
That's not an easy song, obviously.
Yeah, I know. That was the other. She picked a song that covers like a 7-octave range. I'm like,
yeah, you're like, next time,
Bob Dylan. She's like,
next time, go ahead and do Celine, okay? Well, I had the opposite experience with my older daughter. She picked a song. I did not listen to the song. I just approved it. And turns out the song was Daddy Don't Shoot, which was a Riverdale cover of a Beyonce song about a girl shooting any boy that came around her house. And so the day before the talent show, Miss Goethals is like, we really can't have Gavin singing this. And so we had to find a new song that night. But she did great anyway. So,
what song did you replace it with?
Yeah. We chose the slow version of "Take on Me," the slow aha version, the unplugged MTV version, which is a great, like, also lower alto-ish range.
Right. So funny. But so your daughter also danced.
Well, I had one sing and one dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dancer.
I saw rehearsals the day before, and your daughter is a freak dancer.
Well, I'm about to head, if anyone would like to join me, to Vegas for 9 days, a 9-day lovely stay at the Flamingo with my dancing daughter for National Dance Convention, where she's qualified as, I don't even know what, like, we have to go early and stay late, and she's performing at the gala. But yeah, I had to bribe her to do the talent show because she thought it's kind of like those, guest spots that you passed on, Jamie. She did not want to do the talent show. So I had to buy her actually her father bought her leotard or bra top and like a brief that she really wanted.
She thought she was above. Was she too good for the talent show?
She was too good. She wouldn't listen to me, but she did listen to her dad, and she did allow him to bribe her. So that was the important
crazy flexibility where she can bend over backwards better than I can bend over forwards.
Right. I know. It's weird.
That's crazy.
It's like it's almost like I live with like a little 10-year-old white Simone Biles, because she's flipping and bending around the house like 24/7. Michelle wants to go to Vegas with me. Let's do it.
Michelle will go. She's actually probably already on her way. She'll meet you in Barstow.
Woohoo! But okay, so tell me about your kids. You have twins, right?
I do, yeah.
And a 5-year-old. So right? 3?
And 5. He's 5. Jace is 5.
I don't know where you are on my screen. You're over here.
There-ish. It's so weird to try and maneuver that. Anyway,
we gotta improve this Brady Bunch, configuration.
So our 5-year-old is, as his mother puts, a little too much me. And he's not biologically mine, but you couldn't tell by any way. Like, he is sort of just cloned himself. All my personality went into the child. And the twins, there's a darkness there that I fear. Like, I fear them. The youngest one I am legitimately afraid of. Like, he broke into the bathroom. Like, it was like I felt like I was in Jurassic Park. Like, I saw the door handle kind of moving down, and then the oldest knows that he can use Alexa to turn off the lights. So the lights shut off and I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, this is it. This is where they end me. And the bathroom door opened and I heard the little come in. The door shuts and all I can hear is the crunching of an animal cracker. And then I just hear this voice that sounds like a much more terrifying minion that was just, Daddy.
It was like red rum, but Daddy.
So that's pretty much a day-to-day here, and I am barely hanging on.
But none of your kids are so is your 5-year-old in kinder yet?
He starts in August.
Oh my God. So you've had them all at home for like 5 years.
Well, not only that, but see, my wife had some health issues the year before, so we were also home that year.
We've told her a few times, but you should tell Claire this story because this is crazy.
6 days after the twins were born, my wife had a stroke. And so the first 8 months, I was dealing with newborn twins, plus my wife who she was basically 90%. She lost 90% of like everything. I mean, she was, we had to teach her to walk again, everything. And she's back and she's gotten about 10% deficit now. But so we rehabbed and we're raising twins the first.
Well, not because she was rehabbing. So you were doing it alone.
Well, some family would come in and help, but I mean, I had to leave my job. I took a leave of absence for the first year. And then so we started to go back to like regular life. And then the pandemic hit. So I've been here alone with my children for 2 years.
So you thought your little 4 kids story was brutal, right, Claire?
Right? I mean, shame on me. That's amazing. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Although if there were 2 more of them, I would actually leave in the middle of the night and never be found. My
best friend who does not have kids, Julie Benz, who I went ahead and made all 4 of my kids godmother and her husband godfather. Cause I'm like, you take them all, you're well off and you don't have anything to worry about. So if I die, they're all yours. But she's always like, you should just say you're going to Target and then just drive to Mexico.
No, I found myself like on the 5 South and I had to turn around. I was like, I can't.
Yeah. Like, no, you turn, Jamie.
It was, but it's so funny because during the pandemic, Jason and I had this other group of dads and I would be like losing my mind and I punched a lamp one day. Like I beat the shit out of a Restoration Hardware lamp. I just lost it. And then I had this little group of dads in this thing called the Dadlands group. And I would talk to all the other guys and I would hear their stories and I'd go, no, my day wasn't as bad as I'm okay. So it's crazy because as soon as you hear like my wife, every time she talks, she always judges herself against people who have it way better. And I think we do that nowadays with like social media or something where we see somebody and we go, oh, look how great they have it. As opposed to looking at people who have it a lot worse and go, oh, you know what? I'm kind of doing okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be transparent as a parent because there's things that you do that you don't like about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I have one of my biggest things is I lose my patience in the evening. Good Lord. I'm tired. I'm hungry. They're tired. They're hungry. Why do we have to do bath, story time, and nice everything in the witching hour? It makes no sense. I'd rather get up an hour earlier in the morning and read to them and spend time with them when I'm fresh and enjoying things instead of this like preconceived notion that like, oh, bedtime, bed, bath, read, put to sleep. Like maybe that works if you're someone who, God bless, is capable of not having to work yourself and you're just the parent. But for me, that does not work. Like I'm much better in the morning than I am in the evening.
I need to try that.
I just had this, dude. I just did it this morning because my daughter, we would let her, she goes, oh, can I watch TV? I go, yeah, you can watch TV for another half hour, but then you're going to bed. And then you go to put in bed. She goes, well, now it's reading time. I go, it's not reading time.
No.
I go, it's so odd. All day I was with you, 12 hours today. Not once did you ask me to read, but now it's 8:30 and I say lights out and you're like, Daddy, in that little like 5-year-old Claire voice, can you read a book to me?
Daddy,
I'm like, no,
please read to me.
I'll read one to you tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then so she got up this morning and we read like 5 little books, biscuit.
And then you're happy to read. Yeah. It's like a magical thing. It's not that you as a parent don't want to do it. It's that, the expectations. And I think, I'm glad that you guys have a group like the Dadlands group. I don't have a group like that of women. Sometimes I'm just like texting one other, mom that I think can relate, like, oh geez, I, lost my patience and threw my kid's iPad or whatever, or whatever happens, but it's nice to be able to have that open space where you don't feel judged, where you can just kind of commiserate in a way, because parenting is wonderful and it's great and it's beautiful, but there are moments where it's not perfect.
No, I would say
I don't understand the term perfect. I don't know what that means.
I would say more often than not, it's a train wreck. Where I saw Gene Wilder interviewed one time about and he's like one of the most successful actors of all time, and he was like, Hollywood's 99% disappointment and 1% utter exhilaration. And I was like, so true. Like the highs are so high, but there's way more no's than anything else. And I feel like parenting is the same. I kind of did that solely because I felt like I was training my kids only to read at night. And I was like, you should read all the time. And so I was like, this morning I get up and they're going to camp, and I was like, she's like, I'm using the iPad like blackmail. I'm like, well, if you read for 30 minutes, you can do 10 minutes on the iPad. That's the mathematical equation I came up with. And so they read for like 30 minutes and then they went to their iPad, and then I timed it and then went back to the book. But I don't know what I'm doing. And that's what I think we always try to be. I do it in my stand-up too, where it's just autobiographical. And I'm always amazed anytime I see some couple who's like, oh my God, we're so happy. Everything's so great. We're like the perfect couple. And they have those little textbook photos on the beach. That's the first murder-suicide in the group, right? Like that's right. It's always, those are the ones where you're like, nobody's that in love. There's no way. This is how this goes tragically wrong. Like I yell all the time. My kids are like, why are you yelling? I go, because I said the same thing 15 times and you didn't change. So I had to change something in the parameters to get you to hear me. So yeah, I'm yelling.
That's actually a really good answer. I'm gonna borrow that.
I'm basically living an episode of the old animatronic dinosaurs show where the babies just beat me with random clubs and stuff, and it's just physical comedy here all day against their father.
I love it. Is the Dadlands group open to the public to join? Yes, but only dads. And it's funny because I've had a lot of women try to join the group, but that is kind of a realtor, I guess. He's like, I am gladiator, I am realtor. He said, can I join the group? Yeah, go to the Dadlands, and then there's a Dadlands group, and it's only guys. And guys in there, it's so great because there's this honesty. I beg my wife, she has a small group of friends, but sometimes her friends aren't as open and supportive as I wish they were. Like, I think guys are way more open about like, dude, I literally almost just killed my children today. I really pondered killing them. Like, I'm not going to make it. Where women are like, everything's great, we're all happy and going. I think there's a double standard sometimes.
I wouldn't say I think there's a double standard because I don't know what it's like from your point of view, but I do know from a woman's point of view and a mother's point of view, like oftentimes I'll say, I'll be candid about how I'm feeling or what's going on or, whatever with another mom. And the response will be like, oh, thank goodness you're echoing what I'm feeling, but I don't have any place else to say it. So it's making me think like maybe like we should do an offshoot of the Momlands of your Dadlands. Yeah. And that should be like the sister group.
Well, here's what my wife tells me. And I think I believe what she says is that like when a mom goes to Target and her kids are running around like a crazy person, that people are judgmental and go, oh, that mom, she can't keep those kids under control. Whereas if the dad is at Target and those kids are running around, everyone's like, oh, look at wacky dad doing the best he can. He's a good guy. Like this, I think in that way, there is a double standard where women are more harshly judged for their parenting skills than guys are. I think guys are given a lot of leeway because we're goofy dad with our dad bod in the backyard. Like we're given way more leeway. And I think moms are held to a higher standard, even though I would argue in a lot of relationships, I know the dad's he's the way better parent than the mom. Like the dad's the guy who really runs the show and the mom's the one who's the crazy one. So I don't know.
I've actually had, when I've taken the kids to the store myself, I've actually had, when Jace especially was acting up in the store, I've had elderly like moms or grandmas come up and ask me if I need help, because like they're like, bless you for even doing this. But if my
you're a
wife
man,
did that,
you're taking your kids to the store. Yeah.
And you know what I always do? People do that to me and I go, they're yours. And then I turn and I run out of the store.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you later, they're yours. And then I run away and then I come back and I go, and they go, oh, you're a funny dad. I
had a really funny moment in Target the other day. We were going last weekend to Vegas for my son is playing in an international futsal tournament, which futsal's basically indoor soccer, like indoor soccer. And so this was the first part of the tournament. The second part is in Florida in July for 10 days. So we're going. In the morning, I got everyone ready, everyone packed, all 6 were going. Everyone's packed, ready. Everything's organized. Pets are taken care of. House is taken care of. Blah, blah. My work has been done. Everything. I haven't showered or shaved my legs, but forget about that, And I wanted to go to Target to get like just a few things I needed, like deodorant and, possibly a t-shirt, because now my teenage daughter is stealing all my clothes. So I literally have no clothes that don't have like they're cute clothes and she wears them fine, but she gets stains all over them because she doesn't care. So I'm like, I have no clothes and no deodorant and I need to go to Target for just an hour before we drive to Vegas. Right. And his game wasn't till 9 p.m. I'm at Target. I'm not kidding, 14 FaceTime calls within 20 minutes. And I finally answer the last one and I'm in the clearance section looking like maybe I can find myself a little clearance t-shirt that will look cute or something, a swimsuit to wear by the pool. And I answer my phone and it's I think it was my son this time. And he's like, why aren't you home? We're packing the car. And I'm like, listen, I got everyone ready. I just need to grab a few things from Target. The drive is 4 hours. We've got 10 hours. We're good. I'll be home in 25 minutes. I said, this is the 13th or 14th time you guys have called me in 25 minutes. I'm not going to answer anymore. This is my boundary. He's yelling at me. I hang up and the other moms are like, good for you. Just, you need to be, why don't you just relax and buy yourself a few things? And, it was 3 other moms Saturday morning or Friday. No, I think it was Saturday morning. Anyway, whatever morning early. And they were like, we're here to get away from our families too. And it's not that we want to get away from the kids, but that's how much in demand like a mom is at times. I counted one time when I got in the shower with my 4 kids home. And I said, I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute shower. And I got in there and I started my stopwatch on my phone. And within 3 minutes, someone had said mom 68 times.
Yeah.
What?
68 times.
Yeah.
And I don't even lock the bathroom door anymore because it's like, why have to like reach out of the shower and unlock it for someone to come in? It's not like I'm not going to let them come in, but it's just, it doesn't even, it's not even worth it. It's crazy. The demands on women are different than men. And it's not absolutely. That, absolutely. I mean, the difference also is though, that the men still have the financial stigma of, providing and being the supporters,
True.
Which is its own, burden in and of itself. I imagine.
It is because, I don't know. I think it's countrywide, but I know it's also in Los Angeles. Most of the parents I know, both parents work. It's just the way it is. And because it cost of living is insane. And also a lot of people I know want to work. Like, I think the days of wanting to be home with the kids all day, I think it doesn't drive a lot of people creatively, and people have these careers and they don't want to give them up. And so there's kind of like it takes a village to raise your kids and stuff. But I do think moms are judged so much more in another way too. Like you were talking about trying to pick out clothes. This t-shirt is 22 years old, probably. I've had this shirt, but my wife, sometimes will like, hey, what's this on the credit card bill? She goes, I bought some clothes, and I never question it because I understand. She goes, I need some clothes for work. I go, I get it. It's like auditions. I had 3 costumes, 3 uniforms, shirt, pair, like whatever my 3 outfits were.
Yeah, the 3 like.
When you walk to an audition, anytime a girl walks into an audition, all the guys check her out, but all the girls check her out even harder. Like it's really kind of vicious. And I always felt bad that women had to deal with that, to be like, you have to walk in, even as a mom, and you have to look like you have it all together. Whereas I can walk in and just put a hat on and go like, I'm having it. Yeah, I didn't shave. Who gives it? I don't care. But
I remember
mom's judgy.
Yeah, I remember the project I was filming after Gavin was born, and I was like 6 or 8 weeks postpartum, and I was nursing, and I remember being like, I really need to like go express, the milk, or I'm gonna be in pain. And they were like, well, we can't let you do that. Like, we're gonna get behind schedule if you do that. You're not sorry, but no, you're gonna have to wait. And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's not like something that I can wait on,
Right.
I have a newborn, and they're like, no, sorry. And I was like, okay. And nowadays, 13 and a half years later, I would be more vocal and I would be more of an advocate for myself. But again, as an actor, you also have that fear of like, oh gosh, well, if they don't like me and I'm not going to work again, and what's going to happen?
And people would literally tell you that and go, you'll never work. Like people would say that.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a vicious business.
Have you had people say that in that capacity, Claire?
No. I mean, that was like probably the one incident that really sticks out in terms of like, but I have had many comments about my weight over the years. Well, she's, she's just, I don't know what's wrong with her. Like true. I'm not 105 pounds anymore, that happens when you turn from a teenager to a young adult and then into a woman, your weight fluctuates, and especially with having kids, and especially with having 4 kids. And so that's always an issue. Always.
That's an issue even at 18. I mean, you look at like Judy Garland or something they had her on all kinds of pills.
Marilyn Monroe,
Marilyn Monroe. They were all, I mean, it's when they used to, when they walk into an auditions, the effable. Are they effable? Yeah, I know. It's and that's why it's so funny. I don't know about you and your kids getting into the business, but people have reached out to have my kids audition for stuff, and I'll be like, offer only, baby. They're offer only, and I'm on set all day, every day.
Yeah, it's funny. My kids all work. They all have done stuff. Sky was on Shameless for a while. He was also on Guiding Light. Heart is like Heart and River book nonstop. Gavin was on a Disney show. But it is basically they do have an agent now, but it was basically starting through friends and family calling. You have one this age, right? And I'm like, what gender, what age are you looking for?
Yeah, exactly.
So I probably got you covered.
You have you're like the whole shelf. You have the whole toy store. You're like, just tell me what you need. I can fill the order.
Yeah, but right now that takes a backseat to the boys' soccer and Rivers dance, and Gavin's own thing as well. It's a second thing.
Your daughter River, and she's a dancer, right? I mean, River dance. It all falls.
Well, she dances with a little girl, Phoenix, so it's River Phoenix.
It's River Phoenix Dance. They're going to be the next dance dance group. You still look gorgeous. It says
Thank
Sarah.
you, Sarah.
Sarah.
I'm going to give you the heart there.
I know.
You're never too old for the heart, right?
No.
Hey, we have a very odd thing in comparison that we both did the AIDS ride. Did you do the AIDS ride?
By myself.
Me too.
I won an MTV award that year, and I passed on going to get it to do the AIDS ride because I felt like I had a commitment to do it.
I don't know if is it still happening?
No, not in the same capacity. I did it in, I guess it would have been 2001. 2001.
Mine might have been mid-90s. Mid-90s, I might have
been. But it was probably the same. It was still independently owned. It did a transformation in like 2004 or 5 where it went from the AIDS ride to like a different title and it changed hands. But I mean, tell me about your experience, Jamie. I had a great experience doing it.
I did too. Like life-affirming, life-changing. It was so random. I wasn't even a bicyclist. I don't know why I did it.
Me neither. I never trained.
I had a gay friend who asked me to do it. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. It was almost like a challenge. And so, Jason, you would get your bike. I don't even have a bike. I had to buy a bike. for it. And they were like, you should train. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine.
Same.
And so you had to get to San Francisco with your bicycle. And then you rode in a week. You rode the bike from San Francisco to LA, which was about 100 miles a day.
The first 2 days were like 120 and 100.
Yeah.
And then like when you were going through the mountains, it tapered. Like the lowest day was like 56 miles. Yes. And then the last day was like another, like the day before the last day was another century. And then the last day was like 80 miles, which we were like, oh, that's nothing.
It was one of the greatest weeks I remember. And it was so odd because I hadn't thought about it in so long. And I saw it on your IMDb page. And I was like, I did that ride.
It was
but I was
great.
probably the only straight guy within like 15 miles of the ride.
Absolutely.
And everyone knew I was the straight guy. And it was really it was like a movie. It was really funny. And like guys would come in and go like, hey, you look sore. I go, oh man, I'm in so much pain. They were like, you want a massage? And I was like, yeah, I kind of do want a massage, my brother.
Absolutely.
Honestly, yeah, I'm taking that massage. And so it was super fun. And then, I mean, for the week, I was like, I don't know how I feel. It was like my college exploratory phase where I'm like, who knows who I am now? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the camping out aspect. Did you camp out in the tents every night?
So you camp out?
Yeah.
Yes. So you basically make your way up to San Francisco, however you make your way with your bike. You check in the day before, you get all your gear, and then like this crazy like mass group of bikers takes off, and people who have come up to support you will like drive like 10 miles and then like hold up a sign, and then they'll drive like another 20 miles ahead, and then eventually they're gone. And then you're just on your
motorcycle gangs would kind of lead, and they would block traffic. So you were kind of using main thoroughfares because you were safe.
Yeah, we were on the PCH and the 101, Getting on
the PCH, it was nuts, man.
It was
nuts. So it's a combination of like pedal bikes and motorcycles?
No. The motorcycles.
There was a gang of motorcycle, like I forget who they are, the Outlaws or something, and they kind of blazed the path. And then would go to block traffic ahead of you, like the Tour de France, where there's a sports team that kind of follows.
Because we were like the Tour de France. But the whole experience was really, for me, it was just like a really mental experience, and I, like you, didn't train. I was like, I'm in shape. I'm in my 20s. I'm good. I remember getting on, like going to my bike the second day and like going to sit down and being like, this is not going to work. Like I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I'm not going to be able to sit on this bike. No. And I think I biked like 10 or 15 miles standing up before I was like, I have to sit. Like I have to sit back in the saddle, but it was crazy.
I remember taking like handfuls of it's like butt butter or something.
Butt goo or whatever.
It was like butt goo, and you'd be like, you couldn't sit on because you had like that racing bike.
Yes, seats. It was like this time.
You were running for 100 miles a day, and then you're like, how does what's his name with the not Greg LeMond, but who's the famous bike rider?
Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong. How does Lance Armstrong sit on a seat? For that, I didn't understand it.
Like the seat is like a micro. It's like basically a Snickers bar that you're sitting at, like some little tiny little, metal, ruler. It's like a ruler. That's what it's like.
Maybe the fact that he only had one testicle really proved to be advantageous.
I feel like put it on one side and that was it. I don't know.
It was straight center, just right over the front, where I had two, and it really messed.
Well, I had none, and it also really hurt. But it was a great experience, and it was something, that I will always. It was the first time, like I just took, and I'm not one. Clearly, with 4 kids, I'm not one to be like, time for me. I haven't had me time in 2 decades, But it was a time in my life where I pushed away my career. My agents were like, you're crazy. You're winning an MTV award. You're not going. And I was like, no, I made a commitment to do this other thing. And that's where my commitment is. So
if social media was like it was now, that would have actually popped and it would have made
absolutely
more
that would have
famous.
popped.
But I'm glad that I did not grow up in this business with social media, because
I did a movie with Shannon Doherty like a couple months ago, and we were talking, and she said, and I totally agreed. She goes, if social media had been around when I was doing all my crazy stuff that was actually getting me in trouble, then she goes, I would have made millions.
Yeah.
I would have had so many followers. I would have blown it up for being the bad girl.
Mm-hmm.
Your numbers, because that's the problem. I think what social media now is it rewards negative, like a negative tweet gets like way more response than a positive tweet. And so where it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of making people act worse than they do. And so when I saw you had the AIDS ride, it brought back such warm memories in my life. And we had just talked to my daughter about it the other day, about the fact that she doesn't understand how great her life is. And my wife was melting down going, I'm going to take you and I'm going to show you kids who don't have everything that you have. And you're going to see how they live their life. And I was like, we should do that. We should take these kids to like a soup kitchen for Thanksgiving and do that kind of stuff. I think we need to do that more for our kids, because we're showing them the wrong path, I feel sometimes.
I agree.
I do this thing. It's not, I mean, I try to do as much as I can. I'm compressed with time, you know what I mean? And crazy busy. But
really? You don't have any free time on your hands, Claire?
You know, I do more, I want to say developmental workshops where like I'll have a friend of mine who's gay or lesbian over and talk openly to the kids about like, hey, what was it like when you came out? What was it like when you realized you were gay? To take away the stigma, because I really feel like this is the generation where we're going to be able to eradicate that sort of like racism and sexism and prejudice in general. And so although I haven't taken my kids to a soup kitchen, you know, I do try to work on those, you know, sort of social issues with them so that they don't ever feel, you know, I think I've said to my kids like so many times, especially my 13-year-old, like, she'll be like, well, I kind of like this guy. I'm like, are you sure it's not a girl? It's okay if it's a girl. I'm fine if you like a girl, you know? And I just want to make it like okay for them to be open with their sexuality. And I want to, I don't know. Does that make sense? I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I do. And I agree with you, but I do think, I mean, as a kid who grew up in New Hampshire and a woman who grew up in Ohio, I know that a lot of the country does not preach that. We're going to be divided. It's not going to be the generation that eradicates it, but it'll be the generation where it'll be out in the open. Some people are still going to be racist and homophobic and whatever they're going to be. And that's their own, you know, that's their own path they have to go, but they're never going to change. And hopefully it will be bred out over time. But the problem is that the kids are growing up in these households in some town America where they are being taught to hate. And it all starts with the parents, and you can't change that.
It's unfortunately very prevalent here still, because I'm a little ways outside Scranton, Pennsylvania. So it's unfortunate, and we were at Target, and my oldest Jace, two men were walking holding hands, and he looked at me and he was very, very confused, and he said, "Daddy, is it okay for a man to love a man?" And I said, you can love a man, a woman, probably not a goat, but if you did, I wouldn't judge you.
Well, there's a play about it.
There's the NYU that's coming out.
And he said to me, I said, Jace, as long as you find somebody who treats you well and makes you happy, I don't care who you love. And he said, kind of like mom. And I'm like, well, you're probably going to want to shoot slightly higher than that. But
that's funny. As long as I teach my kids empathy, I mean, I really think that's like the main thing. If you can be empathetic, and my daughters, like Hannah especially, we've talked about it before. I have an apricot tree and I'm trying to make apricot wine, and the squirrels are eating the apricots.
Oh, I'm very interested in this whole process. So sidebar later.
I've been catching the squirrels and releasing them in other places. And so I had caught a squirrel And I knew the squirrel was in the cage, and I went back in the house. I was going to go out and take the squirrel, and I take them around the block and release them so that they're not eating my apricots or whatever. But I caught a rat one time and released him. I can't kill anything. I'm just such a baby about it. So my daughter came in, and I knew the squirrel was in the cage, and she came in and she goes, "Dad, the cage is closed, but there's nothing in it. It must have just closed on its own." And I was like,
I love that.
Did it just close on its own? And then she goes, "Yeah, there was nothing in it." And I said, "I have some terrible news for you. I actually walked in the backyard and I saw that there was a squirrel in it." And she started crying. She was like, "I thought you were going to be mad that I let the squirrel go." And I go, "Are you kidding?" I go, "I love that you let the squirrel go. It's okay. It doesn't bother me at all. I would never hurt another living creature. And the fact that you let that squirrel go shows me how empathetic you are as a human being and that you care about any living thing on earth." I loved it. It like warmed my heart, but I had to hold her because she was like, "I thought you were going to be mad because you."
She's so sensitive. I love that. She's probably going to be an artist, Jamie.
But she'll also be in therapy, and she'll be in horrible pain because people who are total empaths
but the therapy's like better nowadays than when we grew up. So like there's more of, a better path.
If you like stand up for me as my therapy, I get up and I talk and tell my stories, and that makes me feel like for the 10 months, that was part of my problem during the pandemic. I couldn't perform. And so as soon as I started getting on stage again in like February, I was like, I
feel better. Yes.
Don't you feel that way? I feel like that changed everything.
I do. I feel like, and it's interesting because my definition of being like creative has changed as I've gotten older. Like it used to be like just acting is, but now I can find a way to be creative in a lot of things. Like I can find joy in organization or in painting or in, knitting or so I've broadened my level of pacification through art, I guess. So it's not necessarily having to be on stage anymore.
I made friendship bracelets 2 days ago.
I love it.
I made a friendship bracelet because Hannah made one and she made it in like 8 seconds and it was terrible. And I was like, that's not a friendship bracelet. You got to put some work into this. And so for like hours, I made a friendship bracelet.
Did you pin it to your jeans? Did you safety pin it to your jeans?
No, I put it on my daughter. I put it on Claire's wrist and she was like, "Daddy's my friend." And then she went swimming and she lost it like an hour later. I was like, I worked really hard on that.
No, but it's true. Like I went through a phase where I made everybody I know dream catchers, and then I knit everyone blankets and you know what?
I know.
It's its own therapy.
I'm making apricot wine for people, so what do I know? Hey,
yeah, I mean,
creativity, because we do have to wrap pretty soon. We don't have to, but I mean, this is crazy. We can't go on forever. Talk about your creativity because you're doing this great podcast that's going to blow it up.
It is so fun. So Fanatics is the name of the show, and it is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, who Roddenberry sort of invented fandom because Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek. So it's kind of a great like producing partner for the show. My co-host David Magadoff is on actually the new Dexter that's filming right now in Boston. And he's from the morning show. And actually, if you guys ever did HQ Trivia, he was one of the original.
That's where I knew him from.
I knew because he's also a funny guy like you. Yeah, he's great.
He's great. He is great. The whole time I was like, where do I know that dude from?
Yeah, exactly. So we have guests on our show, and we're like, oh yeah, Tony Hale from Veep and Arrested Development and this and that. But we're not going to talk about any of that. We're going to talk about Tony's love of indoor malls, or we're going to talk about Greg Grunberg came on and talked about his love of Ford Broncos. So it's about these like niche things that these celebrities like really obsess over. And it's a really, really fun show. Short, bite-sized episodes, 25, 30 minutes. Great little, digestible on a drive. Listen, not a huge commitment. It's not Joe Rogan. You don't have to listen for hours and hours, but it's a really fun little show. I love that
stuff anyway, because I want to, if I see Daniel Day-Lewis, I don't want to hear about him talking about his acting. I want to hear how he really likes to make shoes. Like that.
Right. Like I really want to have Tom Hanks on because I have heard, I do not know Tom himself, but I've heard that he loves collecting typewriters. So this is the perfect person for the show.
Yeah. He was on like the morning CBS Sunday Morning. That's how old I am. I watch CBS Sunday Morning. And I think he had a typewriter. Like, what's on 60 Minutes
But
this
wait,
week? That's
this
who I-
is going to determine how old you are. Do you actually have cable?
I still have cable.
You are old. No.
I love cable. I
tried to tell him, but he didn't listen.
I love how people they clip the cable and then they piece together like 75
That's me.
different platforms. And you're like, yeah, you save. It's like you're the same person.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Amy said she loves the podcast.
Oh,
that's so
awesome.
sweet.
It's like when Waze tells you, hey, there's this really intricate course where you can save 30 seconds or you can just stay on the freeway. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stay on the freeway, dude. I feel like cable's that because I still love cable.
But you have to like subscribe to some things like HBO.
I have HBO. It's all part
Plus.
of the package. I got a package.
Disney Plus.
We have Disney Plus.
I mean, I don't want to interrogate you about your streaming services, but
and we have Netflix. And I did. You know what's?
But you're kind of like doing worse than me because I just have those things, but no cable.
How? We'll have to talk money because I'm interested to see what you spend on a month. Cable's not cheap, I'm not going to lie to you.
You can watch everything. You can subscribe to the upgraded YouTube service, which is like $50 a month for all the channels. But I have found that you don't even need to do that. And it's not that I'm trying to save money. I just don't need it. So
I need it.
Because you can watch everything for free anywhere. Like literally, I wanted to watch my son, the one who played in the tournament. He's very into soccer. And I wanted to watch one of the European games. And it was like literally playing on Twitter. It was like periscoping through Twitter.
Mm.
So, but is periscoping like in a format where you would watch it on like TV, or is it this little, I don't want to watch it like this.
But you can download the Twitter app to your smart TV and then play it there. I just blew your mind.
Somebody needs to come over and show me how to use this remote control, Jamie.
Oh, my son said, "Great show, Mom. Love Heart." That's from my son Heart. He's the 9-year-old I'm talking about.
Oh, dude. You got good. And I'm not sure. Should your kids be up watching crazy shows on?
Well, it's summer break. It's only 8:22. As long as they're in bed by like next week is like when all their like stuff starts. Their Heart is doing junior lifeguard next week. And Gavin. That's great, Jamie. When your kids are old enough, a bus picks them up at Valley College at 6:30, takes them to the beach. They train with the lifeguards all day. They get dropped back off at 3 p.m.
Oh, I like that. Actually, I looked at surf camp for my daughter because we went to a birthday party at the beach the other day. And they had boogie boards, and she was like digging the boogie boards so much. And she was in the water like this, like blue, like actually shaking. And I'm like, you got to get out of the water. She's like, no, I'm okay. She couldn't speak.
Okay, I'm going to bring you some wetsuits. My kids have outgrown. So I have a couple.
Do you have them?
I have a couple wetsuits for you. Don't buy any.
I almost went to Val Surf today.
No,
I'm taking them.
I have at least 3 or 4 I can pass on to you. So like depending on the size, because my kids I have 4 kids and they've always had them.
I'll trade you in wine. We have
perfect.
We have kind of a sponsor. My buddy from 16600 sends cases of wine.
He's an angel because remember I do the wine auction and he supports every year. He is Steve. Is his name Steve?
The other guy is, this guy's Paul, but Steve is with the company. Yes.
Okay.
Paul.
So both of them are so amazing. That wine, by the way, is phenomenal. If anyone,
so he just sent me another case.
Here's
the canned rosé, like White Claw cans.
Send those.
Like, this is huge. And so he sent me, I have like 3 cases of wine at the house. We're trying.
All right. Gavin says, "Love you, Mom. Love Gavin." I got to read the shout outs because they're obviously sending them.
All right, listen. I think we found our new regular on the show, Claire. Thank
Absolutely.
You so much. I would go forever, but eventually,
I would too. But I feel bad that I'm already running you guys long. But I love talking to you guys, and I feel like we're like, this is the tip of the iceberg, and we're like the Titanic, and we're gonna, just run in and
look that had that Disney show gone right now, we'd be.
I mean, I would make
popping into every episode to say 2 lines of like, "Hey, you kids, go to bed," and then we pull the door shut. It would be a great.
Right, and then I could play Jamie's brother who lives over the garage.
I love that, or like the neighbor we never see. Just
That's
kidding.
Right.
We want to see your face.
Goes, no, it's fantastic.
She tried to Wilson me.
We want to see you.
All right. Claire, we love you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys. I had a blast.
Where can they find all your stuff in Fanatics, even though it's Fan Addicts?
It is Fanatics because we're phonetically pronouncing Fanatics instead of Fan Addicts. But either way, the best place to find out everything is my Twitter, which you guys graciously put up. It's at Clare Kramer, at Clare Kramer official on Instagram, and all We Are Fanatics is the Fanatics Twitter, but I also always retweet. So
yeah, the podcast is awesome too. So people need to check that out. And I'm going to make you come back a lot. So,
okay, I would love to.
Doing this, I love it. And all right, hey, let's just wrap the whole thing. Yeah, Jason, absolutely. I love you. We'll talk soon. Buddy. Claire, fantastic. Everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
For the love of God, don't copyright me or say something weird. We didn't do anything. Let us see. All right, we'll love you guys. See you next time.
My sister's a lawyer, so.